This is the Infinix Hot 50. It's Infinix's latest budget entry smartphone, which is priced around 7,000 pesos. It's still in that budget-friendly price point, and it's also very slim and lightweight. It's also got that latest G100 processor. You'll also have a 200 nits of additional brightness compared to the Infinix Hot 40 series. But is the design very durable, or is it going to bend? And if the performance of the G100 compared to the G99 is worth the upgrade? Let's do the review. Okay, before ITEL released their slimmest smartphone, the Infinix Hot 50 is probably one of the slimmest smartphones in our budget phone lineup. It's only 7.7mm thick, and it still has the earphone jack. Okay, hopefully the earphone jack will still be around in the few years to come. Okay, hopefully. Okay, the Infinix Hot 50 still uses an IPS LCD display that has 120 Hz of refresh rate. So when you compare this to an AMOLED display, it's not going to be super bright. But Infinix did something right this time around. They've added that 200 nits, that extra 200 nits of peak brightness. So now it is a far better screen compared to a 600 nits of peak brightness before. Okay, let's take a look. Okay, so it's much brighter and can compete to the AMOLED's brightness just for a bit. But it is super bright, and with that 120 Hz refresh rate, it made it a better experience for the user. Okay, this is what it looks like when you compare the 600 nits to an 800 nits of peak brightness. And as you can see that the 600 nits looks like it's not even bright compared to the 800 nits. Okay, I want to see more smartphones adapting to the 800 nits because it is a decent brightness for the IPS LCD display, especially when you are outdoors. It's not super bright like the AMOLED display, but it will hold up pretty nice compared to the 600 nits, which is quite a bit low for the brightness when you are outside in direct sunlight. Okay, now let's check the viewing angle. The speaker is very loud, even though we only have one. I wish there were two, maybe three. Okay, set aside. As I am watching, I noticed that the screen is a bit warmer compared to the usual LCD display. Wait, let me check for a while. Let me check with the other phone. Okay, so it's colder. The screen is colder here. This one is warmer. Okay, so the warmer display compensates for that dull-looking LCD display. So now you have a more vibrant screen, and with that extra 200 nits of additional brightness, it can now compete with the AMOLED display. Okay, AMOLED display, watch out for the LCD that has the warmer tone and additional brightness. Okay, I just have one thing in my mind here. I just felt something was off, and that it somehow has a little bent here, or the inside bent here. After checking it for a few hours, I kept wondering why it was bent. I haven't done any bend test yet, and not sure if I'm the one who bent it, but I will give you guys an update on this issue. But first, let's check the performance. While the screen is still not super bent, we're gonna test it first with Mobile Legends if there is really any difference when it comes to the G100 versus the G99. Okay, there is only one thing that I noticed, is that there is that warmer screen that makes it look brighter and more vibrant. But in terms of performance, there's not really much of a difference. It's nice. We can play HOK, Honor of Kings, or Mobile Legends at the highest setting possible. Okay, let's try the second game. We also tried downloading Genshin Impact just to see if we can play it at the medium or high level, if possible. Okay, we started from the lowest setting to low, and the graphic is pretty nice, very smooth, no issues, no lag yet. But when we set the graphics level to the medium setting, this is where you encounter the issues. Like, it's still playable, but the graphic is quite slow. Let's say slow, or it sometimes stutters. And when you do an attack or an action, it really has a delay. So it's still playable, but graphics is quite stuck, at least stuttering. So unless you want to play something that is hanging by the minute or by the second or lagging by the second. Now, let's do the battery test. So the Infinix Hot 50 4G edition has 5,000 mAh battery capacity with 18 watts fast charging. Now, let's check how long the 5,000 mAh battery will charge from 16% up to 100. And it took us less than 2 hours to charge this thing. Now, we're gonna do a demo of the bypass charging with Call of Duty while playing Call of Duty. Let's turn on the bypass charging, and I'm gonna directly plug the charger to an outlet, and let's play the game. Bypass charging is a really nice feature to have. And as you can see that the battery percentage does not really go down. Instead, it has a charging indicator on the side, letting you know that the bypass charging works. So this is a great feature, especially when you play for long hours and watch content for the whole day. Now, let's test the camera. We have a 50 megapixel main camera, and we went outside at the park so we can check whether it can take some decent shots. And let's take a closer look at the shots that we got outside. The photos have nice colors, and it's got more vibrant when you take a closer look, so it feels more alive. It's also got good details even though it's against the sun. And even though it's going to feel like that it's going to rain, it can still take pretty decent shots. And we also have that 8 megapixel selfie camera. There are times when you feel like that the photos are somehow edited because of, I think it's too much saturation, but overall it takes good quality shots. Morning guys, we're here at Rizal Park and we're gonna take some shots for you to check. Video is also pretty nice, and it's not too bad since we can also take 1080p resolution, but it's a little bit jittery when you don't have a stabilizer, so make sure you have a steady hands with you. Phone is a very decent phone for everyday use and light gaming. It's also splash proof. It's running on Android 14. It's also got that extra 200 nits of peak brightness, so it's much brighter and has a warmer tone compared to the usual IPS LCD display. It's also 120 Hz of refresh rate. It's got solid battery, or maybe the G100's battery optimization is far better compared to the G99. But in terms of performance, there is not much difference compared to the G99 chipset. And one thing is that the phone is very slim and lightweight, but I wish that the phone is equipped with 5G and has that 808 megapixel main camera. That would be nice. But there are things that I dislike about this phone, and one is that mine is slightly bent. I'm not sure if they have quality control issue, but it's not that noticeable, although I'm afraid that it would take a toll on the screen in the few months to come, so we'll still have to see what happens with this phone. Okay, see you in the next video.